He said, I've been the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. And here's who she brought up. Better than Lyndon B. Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act. The same Lyndon B. Johnson who knew what he was doing when he was doing what he was doing, who said, and this is obviously he was Nostradamus because he was right. Look at what he said. He said, I'm going to have these niggas voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And now look at us right now, y'all. This is funny to me. It's hilarious. You use Lyndon B. Johnson as a better president than Trump. Make it make sense. This is what there's just this cognitive dissonance that's inside the minds of people. Here you are, you got a chance to really attack some issues and ask him what his plans are for the black community or what his plans are for America. And you're using your time to try to smear the man when he took time out of his day, which you was late to even start the interview, and you lied to him, got him there under false pretenses of saying that his running, the person that he's running against is going to be there as well. So all y'all people talking about, oh, he's running from Kamala. He don't want to debate Kamala. He was expecting her to be there. So come on, man. Stop it.
Start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner. I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Now you heard the question. Now watch his response. His response is priceless. But you see how they trying to catch him up, playing the race game, the race baiting. Did you think that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire? He ain't gonna answer the question like that because he knows that that's a trick question. I'll answer it. Yes, Kamala Harris was a DEI hire and is a DEI hire for the office of President of the United States of America. I said it. It's the truth. She is. And they're trying to do it because they don't got nobody else. And Kamala is the closest thing they could find to a Black woman, who she's not a Black woman. And I don't know how many times I got to say this. I was saying this back when she was trying to run with Joe, even before she was trying to run with Joe, when she got up on the stage and was talking about her experience as a Black woman. You ain't had no experience as a Black woman. You made up a whole story talking about, the bus ride. I was that little Black girl. You was in Canada. Stop it. And this is easy. Just do your homework. Do your homework. She didn't go to school out here, man. She went to college out here. She went to an HBCU, where she tries to use that to her advantage. Just because you go to an HBCU doesn't mean that you are Black. There's a bunch of white people and Asian people and Hispanic people that go to HBCUs. Stop it. Yes, she's a DEI hire. Let's keep it moving.
Well, I can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always identified as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length, and we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you
Tell me he's not a master at this, man. You see what he's doing? You ain't putting me in no trick bag, lady. I see what you're trying to do. We ain't even going to get into this. This is what we're going to talk about. This lady right here, she's professional. She had a very good interview with me. I'm not going to dignify your dumbass questions with a response. That's basically what he's saying. I'm not going to dignify this with a response. Everybody in America already knows, but thank you for asking the question, because now when people watch this, they're going to question that. Is she a DEI hire? And maybe they'll do their research. And then maybe they'll see that she did not identify as a black woman pre-vice president. Before she was trying to get in office, she did not. Matter of fact, they got her down in the history books as the first Indian American senator. Come on, man. This is too easy, and he's making it look real easy. Like, this is a plaything for me right now, is what the vibe that I'm getting from him. But let's keep going.
Told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we were divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
Look at that. All of America is what he's saying. A black job is an American job is what he's saying. Like we said from the gate when he first said it, when you heard it in his context, they asked the specific question about what they're going to do for black people to Biden when he was on a debate stage. And then when it came Trump's turn, that's what Trump responded with after he eviscerated Joe. So it's plain and simple. What is a black job? A black job is any job. Any job in America, it's a black job. Just like any job in America is a white job. Just like any job in America is a brown job. It's plain and simple. If you're a foreign person coming here illegally and you take a job, you are taking a black job. You are taking a white job. You are taking a brown job. It's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty cut and dry. I'm just saying. And since we're on the topic of DEI, right? Did you notice how it was only 3 females asking the questions? Where was the representation of black men in questioning Donald Trump? How come they had 3 women on the stage? How come we not talking about that? Where's the inclusion? Where's the inclusion? Because the last time I checked, there's also journalists and people that like to do interviews that happen to be black men. Where were they at? Why were they excluded from this event and talking with the president of the United States? Just wanted to know. And you heard me right. Yeah, you heard me right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs. And frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single Black moms. When you look statistically, how do you turn it around? What's your plan for the Black community when it comes to money?
So first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the.
Don't you think it's strange how they had the Fox News anchor's mic just a little low? I mean, you know me, guys. I love my conspiracies. I just do. I think we can add this to the list. I feel like they lowered her mic on purpose to where he couldn't hear while he's on the stage. We can hear, but he couldn't hear. I think they did that on purpose, but it's okay. Please like this video and share this video out for me, guys. I would greatly appreciate it.
The best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young Black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country. And it's destroying the Black community probably as much or more than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that.
Boom.
And he was losing very badly in the polls. And then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history, and his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing well. You say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the Black worker, the Black population, and every other population within our country.
Boom.
Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting Black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed Black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again, why would?
They're going to be charging the officer. I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So I just want to unpack that real quick. So if anybody, I know that's a big talking point for people. It even pissed me off when I first heard it, that Trump was trying to give all police officers immunity. And instantly, because you know me, I'm not reactionary, not like I used to be. I used to hear something, get mad and make a video about it. Now I go and do my homework. So when it comes down to the police immunity, he's not talking about giving the police immunity across the board. What it is, it's the same thing that it's always been. And in this situation, why he answered it the way he did when he said, well, I don't know, this guy, it looked really bad. And when she said, well, why does he deserve immunity? He said, well, maybe he don't. It's because it depends on what happened. In a case like with this guy, I guarantee you he would not qualify for police immunity because he stepped outside of being a police officer. What was lawful for him to do, he did not do that, in my opinion. All right. So that's when they're protected, when they're acting as a cop, as an officer of the law, and they're following the law and the things that they are allowed to do. That's what he's talking about. You're not allowed to just go out and murder somebody, and you definitely can't tell them that you're going to murder them and then do it. So understand it. Do your own homework if you don't believe me. It's not saying that no matter what a police officer does, he's never going to be in trouble. No, if a cop does not act like a cop, then he gets prosecuted. It's that simple. So don't believe the hype. All right.
Oh, can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
you
an
go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous, and you know they have the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing, because sometimes you have less than a second to make a life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So
how perfect was that response? This is why I say that this is probably one of his greatest interviews. He's been on point every step of the way, not falling into the traps, being very clear about where he stands on things. If he doesn't know something, like with the Sonia Massey case, he said, I don't know. I just know this, so I don't know. But maybe this guy, maybe not, because what I saw didn't look good. He's being like just the best. Literally, like this is probably his best interview that I've ever seen him give. Straight up. And he's with opposition on the stage. This is just beautiful. It's beautiful. But I want to point out what he just said, man. It makes it, and I agree with that. When you're a cop and say you're a good cop, right? And you are in a high stress situation and it's dangerous, anything can happen. And you make one bad call and then something, boom, somebody loses their life. Not saying that that's right, that somebody lost their life or that it should be excused, but I don't think that they should be punished like a regular person for the fact of maybe they didn't mean to do it. Maybe the situation was just, it was too out of control. It was too much going on. We need to take those things into consideration when we talk about prosecuting police officers, unless it was something egregious like we saw with the Massey case. It's pretty simple. The way he just explained it all is just, it was perfect. And I totally agree. So if that's what he means by police immunity, run with it. I'm with it.
I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president. Isn't that nice?
Valid point. Valid point. Incompetent cannot stand trial, but can be commander-in-chief, can be the president of the United States of America, and all of these people defended him. And the whole process, when they were all coming out now saying that he got to step down, we're sick, he's got to go, he's not right. Kamala defended him. Everybody watching this, Kamala lied to our faces. People that were supportive of Kamala and are supportive of Kamala, remember that. She was very, very adamant about how sharp Joe is and how he still got it and there's nothing wrong and he's fine. And then they made him step down. Remember that. Remember that. All right.
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to different topics.
I didn't notice you do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where
sir,
I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse you. You're the one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here.
And
he also
some
says
of those
that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your
and I think
position?
I'm speaking for him too. He's strong.
Masterful. Are you all seeing what I'm seeing here? Masterful response. And every time she interrupts, excuse me, and he keeps going. Just to let everybody know that's watching. Like, yeah, she's very rude. She doesn't know how to shut up, which is probably why she's single. I guarantee you she ain't got no man. She can't have no man. I'd have been like, yeah, you need to shut up sometimes, for real. Be quiet, you know? Let's keep going. Sorry, guys. It's just this is great. This is
Only
a really
believes
great
in family, but I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family, and the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this right now.
Did you see what he just did? Separated himself from that. It ain't something I've ever even heard before. No, and no, I haven't even heard of this. This man is, he's going to be the next president of the United States again.
Now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room that have been here a long time. that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance?
Why
did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing too. I know everybody out there can, but it's hard.
I'll tell you why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the law journal. I mean, that's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually, did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family. But he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator. So Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that,
I cannot understand your microphone.
I know it is really hard for me to understand.
It's just, I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's closer.
I can understand you.
Happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
Really
understand, Harris.
I have a few more questions.
Because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape, but I cannot understand
Are you asking a question?
what you're saying.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring. You choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris. And that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and You can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my JD Vance question in.
JD Vance?
I'm going to get my JD Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, well, I mean, my point
but at
is
least
here.
it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is,
Just classy. You see what I'm saying? I love it.
do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what JD Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the
But
death.
I think it's
They're
about
allowing
freedom,
the
right?
death of a baby after the baby is born, based on
Sir,
the
that
governor
is
of
illegal in
Virginia.
every state in the
That's
country.
Based on the governor of Virginia,
Executing a
they're
baby in
allowing the
every
death
state
of
in
the
the country
baby
is illegal.
after it's born.
It's a
They're allowing
crime.
abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well,
of
Democrats
pregnancy.
have denied.
I think they're right. And I
That's
think
the
the
thing.
Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps. But the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservative, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it, everybody.
But the
wanted
majority
it
of
back.
Americans oppose
Excuse
Roe
me.
v. Wade being
They
overturned.
don't
Multiple
know
polls have
about
showed that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take a look, right now they're doing, it's an amazing thing. Out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting. And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing, a little bit surprising to a lot of people. But the people are now voting, and it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on. And they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting. And it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Most people believe in the 3 exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees to that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position. And some people want that. I don't want it. Most people don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82,
No.
which is older than Biden is right now.
But not
Would you-
mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He shot. But
Damn.
Would you consider?
most people, I know many people in their
Yeah.
80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would?
Didn't even let her finish. Oh, absolutely. And you notice every time he was trying to make the statement about the abortions in the 8th and 9th and even after birth, they kept trying to cut him off. And the reason why they was trying to cut him off is because he was citing where they're doing this at, where they want this at. And I know a lot of liberals, they'll say, oh, no, that's not true. Nobody's ever said that. That's not. Yes, the fuck it is. Excuse my language. I've been working on my cussing, but it's just frustrating because you don't live in reality. You know, if you really just took a step back and just decided that just because it came out of Trump's mouth that it's not wrong, it just because he said it doesn't make it not true. And in your mind, that's what it is. Anything Trump says got to be a lie. It can't be true. It's propaganda. And if you just took the time instead of listening to where it came from to go and do the research and take a look, then you would understand and know, like, oh, wow, this is a valid talking point, because this is really something that is on the ballot for some places in our country. And it's wrong, plain and simple. But I digress.
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh my
me,
goodness.
and I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That was a nasty, that wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
you
ask
can
me a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated
can
your
answer the
statement, sir,
question.
actually.
You said you would. You would.
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If
to
I
step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well, can I
got
just-
'em. I took 2 of them. But let me ask you.
Yeah.
I would like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country, she has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Mr.
Don't mean to
President.
interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test
Mr. President.
I would love to
and
do
make
it.
it public?
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr.
I
President,
suggested-
how do you intend to?
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr.
Are you
President,
saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
to be clear, you don't think
I'm
Harris
just
how do you
giving the
intend,
facts. She
and
didn't
look,
pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it. I
She
guess
did pass it.
There's a
She
man
did-
over
she
here.
did
I
in
think
fact
he
pass it.
must work. for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order. When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones. At least 1 officer lost an eye. 1 had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs. Another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed
But sir, my
that
question
city?
is on those.
What's going to happen to
my
the
question
people
is
that
on
tried
those
to burn
rioters
down-
who assaulted
Excuse me.
officers.
You have to
Would
answer.
you pardon
What's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You
If
would
they're
pardon
innocent-
those-
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been
And
convicted.
by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. They were.
Say that,
how
Trump.
come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis? How come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle? How come nothing happened to them? How come the
But
people
sir, we're
that,
talking about
how
people
come
that
the
were
people-
seen
no,
beating
We're
officers
talking
with
about federal
flagpoles,
buildings.
dragging them down the stairs. They're on
They
video.
try-
Have you seen that
Really?
video,
Oh,
sir?
really? Well, they
you would
shot-
pardon those. You would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in
140
Minneapolis.
officers
You know,
were
people died in
assaulted that
Minneapolis.
day.
And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people.
Back.
He went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go
Yes.
in, go in, go in. What about that? Look,
No one was
Nothing is perfect in life, but you have people from Minneapolis. You have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C. They were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before. And it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border. And I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do I do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down, so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up. And then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car, okay? I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs. And I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in are taking your jobs.
Project 2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Fantastic interview. Fantastic. Shout out to all the J6ers, man. I was so glad to hear his response about that. And for him to actually know, because they try to hit him. Oh, they're already convicted. Oh, they did this to the police. They did that to the police. Not understanding all the stuff that led up to that happening to the police. All right. And trust me, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a J6er. I was there. I seen it. And I was locked up with who they called violent white supremacists. I was locked up with Kelly Meggs from the Oath Keepers. I was locked up with Kenny Harrison. I was locked up with Billy Cressman. I was locked up with Ryan Nichols, Shane Jenkins, Scott Fairlamb, Tim Hale, all the brothers that you know, Brandon Fellows. Them are my brothers. They are my brothers, and I don't give a damn what their crime is. Dominic Pizzola, I don't care what their crime is. I hope that all of them get pardoned, because that shit was a setup, allegedly, for entertainment purposes only. All you other platforms that I'm on. And see, if you was on Pilled right now and we were only streaming on Pilled, well, I could say all these things freely. But for entertainment purposes only, it was a fucking setup. All right. I think he did a fantastic job. So we're going to do a compare and contrast. All right, because later on today, I'm going to be coming back live. I got America's Conspiracy Compass that we're going to do, but we're also going to, I'm late to the party, but I got to cover it. Kamala Harris had Megan Thee Stallion come out on stage and start twerking. And she had Quavo, who is the least popular of the Migos. You know, he came out and she tried to quote him. Walk it like I talk it. Hey, walk it like I talk it. You ain't never heard nobody ever in existence that knows any hip hop, right? Talking about as Quavo say, or as they say, he doesn't walk it like he talks it. That ain't even how you use it. That's how you know you disconnected from the community. You didn't even use it right. Walk it like I talk it. Ain't got nothing. You didn't use it right. You did not use it right. You're disconnected. But have Megan Thee Stallion come out on stage talking about and twerking and talking about how she's ratchet and nasty and all of this, ratchet, boozy, nasty. Come on, man. Talking about if you love your body. Y'all serious? This is what you're doing to appeal to the black community. I feel like that's a fucking smack in the face. A smack in the face. I don't even, for you might not know this, Kamala, because you're not connected, right? But most people in the community that love their children do not let them listen to Megan Thee Stallion. I don't let my kids listen to Megan Thee Stallion. That shit is never going to happen, ever. We don't do that. And you brought her and put her on stage with all her little ratchet friends to do the little booty shaking. Now, there's a time for twerking. Not saying that I don't like twerking because, hey, you know, it is what it is. But there's a time and a place for that. You were not at the club. You out here trying to rally people, and you're giving them your thoughts of what it is to be black. And I guess this is what you think about black women, of which you are not. You are not. You're definitely not. You had that woman come up on stage for what? This was your way to pander, and you did it horribly. People were pissed off, not just me, a whole bunch of people that look like me, men and women. I hope that if you're a woman, you don't look like me, but you know what I mean. I'm just saying it was wrong. It was just wrong. People, they're pissed off. They're making all kind of videos about you, Kamala, because that shit was disrespectful. That's not what we think about when we think of a strong black woman. We don't see Megan Thee Stallion. All right. So cut the shit, man. Cut the pandering. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. I'll be back live a little bit later to do this. But for everybody that's watching me right now, check it out. I got to do it. I need your help. I need everybody's help right now. If you could first like the video and share the video. But pilled.net, total freedom of speech. That's why you see my little banner that I created, you guys. This is my new thing when I go live doing any kind of stuff like this. I'm going to use this overlay. I love it. I just did this myself. I worked on it today for a couple hours, and I like it. I think it turned out good. But pilled.net is a social media platform that is total freedom of speech, and it's free. You don't got to pay nothing. You just go there and create your account. If you're a live streamer like me, guess what? You're monetized on day one. On day one. So please, if you could, if you love me at all, go over to pilled.net, PILLED.net, pilled.net. Create your account. Go follow me. Ring the bell. All right. And if you're watching me on any other platform, follow me on any of the other platforms. I appreciate it. If you're watching me on YouTube, ring that bell. Subscribe. If you're on Facebook, leave off of there. Facebook fucking sucks. Leave. It's horrible. X, I appreciate y'all. You already know, man. Y'all been doing a hell of a job for me. So thank you. Pill.net, man, I fucking love you. I love you. You have been a saving grace in my life. Just want you to know I get to go over there and just be free and say whatever the hell I want to without repercussion, because it's constitutional freedom of speech, which is why this is going to be a new thing that I do. Just say it. You see it right there? Just say it. Just say it. Freedom of speech. It's never what you say. It's how you say it. And we just watched Trump masterfully say everything that he wanted to say in a way that they couldn't find no fault in. I'm sure they would try, but they couldn't. They're not going to be able to. All right, because it's never what you say, it's how you say it. We got freedom of speech, baby. Just say what you want to say. And you could do that with me on pilled.net, PILLED.net. Thank you guys for watching me. I appreciate you. I will be back. I got a speaking class that I'm about to be in right now. Shout out to Anthony Russo and Double Down Speaking. About to go get that underway. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Oh, also, I got some shirts and stuff that's going to be coming out soon. I'm doing a little branch off, you know, with my own quotes and my own sayings and stuff. So be on the lookout for that. A lot of stuff in the works, actually. A lot of stuff in the works. So you guys get ready. All right. I appreciate every single one of y'all, for real, for all the support, for watching these videos and sharing them out. I do this for you guys. I love doing it. And it's a way to help me support my family. So thank you for your continued viewership. I appreciate you. Peace. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. freedomboxinfo.com. Go there if you want to buy American. I'm waiting on mine to come in. I'm going to do an unboxing video just for you guys so you can see the stuff that I bought in my order. All right. Looking forward to it. freedomboxinfo.com. Go there if you want to support America and American-made business. And if you just sick of this woke ideology bullshit, we awake. We're not woke.